Hi, welcome, Leslie.
Thank you, Emma.
I hear that you're a 3D printing expert.
Yes, I am. I got my first printer 5 years ago, and since then I have 4 printers. At some point I need to sell one, that was too much. But then I've been going around since then, learning everything about 3D printing, about pieces and so on and so forth. I can go over and over, you know.
I also heard that you worked with the university, right?
Yes, so I recently talked to people from the Swedish Royal Institute of Technology, KTH, for the closer ones in Sweden, where they have some sort of makerspace for the students called Midla, and then I was showing them what kind of things they can actually do with 3D printing. So, for instance, you can print on fabric. If you never tried before, it's very exciting. You can do these kind of things. You can print already assembled things like this chainmail. Pretty exciting. And I recently bought a resin printer too, and I was showing them that you can print translucent things and very detailed ones. So pretty exciting.
Can you tell us a little bit about how 3D printing works?
Yes, so how 3D printer works? That's a great question because not everybody actually understands. Like when you say printing on paper, it's kind of okay, you have the colors and you print on paper. But 3D printing, to do a piece in 3D, it's all about layers. So what the printer does, this kind of printers, it's called the FDM type, which is fuse deposit material, which have a heated head. And how it works, it will get a string of filament and will extrude into a heated head. And this will melt this plastic and deposit layer upon layer during the printing process, making this 3D printed piece in the end. Something like this, or even something like this.
What's that?
So this is a support for a cell phone, which is, yeah, thank you, like this.
Hey, so I can watch movies anywhere.
Exactly, but I didn't do this myself. So you can find those kind of models like this already ready for you to download and print. You can find this in a website called Thingiverse and other websites too. Thingiverse is my favorite one, is the first one too, where I also found this Groot. You can print yourself. And other exciting things like this chainmail, I also downloaded from there. So it's quite a lot of things that you can do, and they also show other different things. This is also from there.
But you've actually, you printed these yourself, right?
Yes, I printed myself. So in this case, there is a tutorial that you can do to print this kind of fabric, like on fabric. It's since we were talking about layer upon layer, what it does is you print first 2 or 3 layers of plastic, and then you pause the printer, you put the fabric on, and with some tape around it, and then you continue to print the process of printing, and you will have the connection between the printed pieces made by the fabric, like this.
This is awesome. It looks like dragon scale.
Yes.
And you can use this. You can sew this into fabric. You can
yes.
use it in clothes. And
you can totally sew that, and you have like this.
Yeah. So for Halloween or cosplay or any sort of live role play,
yes,
what a wonderful thing.
You can go crazy. You know, it's endless possibilities. So I have those kind of pieces, like I want to show, like this, for instance, that I was printing to help my husband. He's a game creator, board game creator, and I printed some of these pieces to help him building his game. And other things, we also play RPG, and we love miniatures, and they printed those miniatures.
Oh, it looks really cool. Are they the same?
Those are different ones. This is resin one. This is plastic one, the 3D printed plastic filament. And the resolution is quite different. The resin is way better. But regardless, you have fun when you print your miniatures. You can have fun playing RPG or playing your own board game when you do your board game. You can also create more movable things. For instance, this elephant. When it's printed like this. But then when you stick out of the bed, it have movable parts. So the head and the legs. This I also downloaded from Thingiverse. It's not my creation, but it's amazing. So this is one of the examples of things that you can do. And it's all about the layer process. And how that works, just very brief explaining how. It's because when you print layer upon layer, you need to think for layers, you need to have something under to print the next layer, otherwise it's going to be in the air. But there is a limitation, like the printer can print in 45 degrees, for instance, without anything under it, or like this piece I printed to stress that, to know how much you can print, how many degrees you can print without any supports. And in this case it's 85. And it still is like not great. In here maybe some details you're going to have to like sand, for instance, but it's also it's enough to know you can print two objects very close to each other but not touching, and that's how you create movable pieces.
What does it cost?
Well, it all depends on the amount of things you want to print and I don't know, the ideas you're going to have. There, of course, if you want to do something more in detail, you might need a better resolution, so you spend more plastic doing that. The plastic itself is not very expensive. It depends on the store, but you can find for 1 kilo of plastic around 300 kroners, which is not much. And you can print a lot with 1 kilo. You can also find other kind of materials, like this one was printed with wood filament that I found online too. This is a bit more expensive, but so fun regardless. You can also find flexible material. Look, you can print flexible
What's that?
things.
What are you holding?
This is in soil. You can,
for your shoes?
Yes, for the shoes.
Okay.
So, and this can be printed with flexible material. It's all about also how you are going to feel inside the pieces. Because they could be hollow, but you also need some support inside. Otherwise it's going to be too weak.
Does it take a lot of time?
Yes, depending on the model again. So things like this might take, like, if it's not too much infill, it could take 20 minutes, half an hour. Things like this also, in the resin, it takes half an hour. But it could take up to 1 hour. All depends on the resolution you want to print and how much material you are going to spend, meaning the infill of that. It could be a hollow piece or with something inside, not total solid ones. It all depends on that. And about the printers itself, they are not very expensive nowadays. You can find many types, and you can also buy those that you can assemble yourself, which are a bit less expensive. If you're aficionated of doing things on your own, you might enjoy. But if you want to start by having the feeling of how it's to print, and you don't want to spend too much time assembling your own printer, I totally recommend you to buy something cheap online. And they are not paying me for that, but I bought mine at Claes Olsson, the first one, and it's amazing. It was the cheapest one, super good, and this is this one. And it's still working, 5 years. This is a great printer to start, I would say. But you can buy any, and they all work alike. The important part is that you start to get acquainted to it, how you can print, the challenges you're going to face, the type of materials and so on.
So how do the designs work?
So designs is a great question, because I think many people ask themselves, okay, I would like to print, but I have no idea how to do myself something. So 2 things or 3 things that you can do to get a model. You can find it online. You can download one for free. And you have websites like Thingiverse. You can design yourself. And as an example, I started by using Tinkercad, which is online software to 3D modeling for free. And the owner is AutoCAD. You can also use 3D scanners, or 3D scanners. You have different types. All around the software in this case is the important part, because the scanners mean you can take a bunch of pictures of something and a software will process those pictures and create a 3D model for you. There is still a lot of work on that, but it's also possible to do that. If you're starting with 3D printing, I totally recommend you to try to download something that could be for free, or you can pay. It depends on your ambitions in this case. If you need to pay, they're all prices. It could be super cheap or super expensive. It depends on the tail, depends on the size, and so on and so forth.
How about sizes? How big things can you do?
Well, that's a really good question. So, the printer, so this printer is a 14 by 14 by 14 size. So it's not big.
Centimeters, right?
Yeah, centimeters, sorry. So this is like the size that you could print on that printer. But if you slice the things and you print small pieces and then you assemble together, you can print things like this. Excuse me. Can you see?
Yes.
So I print this, and it was in small parts, as you can see. It's all assembled, and I glued it together. And I printed with wood filament.
Cool. If I want to learn more, what do I do?
So you can find a lot of material and other videos around 3D printing in your web. So if you Google it, you will find a lot. But if you want to meet me and other aficionados, experts in 3D printing, join us at Tabletop Game Expo on April 25 and 26, 2020, in Stockholm, where we are going to have all of these and printers to show you how this works. So KTH is going to be there, and among others, to show that what you can do. You can go crazy with 3D printing.
Okay, cool. Do you have any tips now at the end for beginners?
Yes. Well, I was a beginner at once, right? And I think what really helped me a lot, not only to understand how the 3D printer process works, but also to get more into it, was actually buying the cheapest printer with a very easy setup, and printing models that were already done by someone. Start by that. Print something that you think is fun, so like maybe a planter, or maybe a support for your cell phone, or something like this, or a dice you can find, or maybe some pieces like this, and then you're going to start to grasp what is about all the things that you can do. And yeah, and that's how I started, and look where I am.
Thank you so much, Leslie, for doing this interview.
Thank you for having me.
This was made by Tabletop Game Expo. I'm Emma, and thank you for watching.
Bye.